Alright, miners, here's the deal. We have 3.6 billion square kilometers of Minecraft world to conquer, industrialize, and develop, and I'm sure as hell not doing it all by hand. So we're gonna have to automate, build advanced control systems, and push the limits of computer science in Feed the Beast Minecraft. Welcome to Datacraft. This is the voice of Light City. Welcome to your new episode day. Today is High Productivity Day. As promised, it's a project episode, and we're working on infinite power. Power through charcoal blocks, charcoal through tree farms, and we're going to build a fully automatic tree farm with the Create mod, which is going to look awesome and steampunky. But first, we're going to need a couple of materials, and that means our first brief jaunt into the Nether. We're going to bring our best armor and tools enchanted so far, and a turtle in case we want to depth first search mine some resource. The big ticket items are glowstone and magma blocks, for lighting and slime balls respectively, but spotting a nether fortress and picking up some blaze rods would be really useful too. Here we go. Soul sand. Fantastic. We can use that too. I'll dig out a quick shelter from ghasts in case we need it, but it doesn't really look like there's much going on right here. Okay, digging got me nowhere except this slightly better view. There really isn't much here, is there? We're just going to use a cobblestone path here, both for a quick escape across the soul sand, if we need it, and as a trail to find our way back. Ah, a fiery puppy. Or a hellhound, if I had to guess. What do you think the odds are that it's friendly? Yeah, I kind of figured. Cool, glowstone. Things are finally starting to look bright. Quite a good vein, this. This might also be a decent chance to mine some obsidian, too. If we cut out the middle of one of these pillars and leave a chunk hanging in the air, then we can depth first search mine it out with our turtle, which doesn't take any additional time for digging obsidian versus regular blocks. Let's leave it here whilst we head off in search of magma blocks, which we can probably find somewhere on the edge of this lava lake. Aha, fantastic. Alright, that's enough for now. Given this is the Nether update, the vicinity around spawn is a trifle uninspired. No fortresses, no bastions, or even interesting biomes in sight. I guess we're going to have to go slightly further afield for that. Still, we got what we came for. On to working with the Create mod. After our andesite expedition last episode, we finally have all the materials we need to make the basic building blocks of the Create mod machines. And as a slightly more advanced basic machine, we've made this mechanical crafter, which seems to be a very complicated way for building things that would otherwise require a greater than 3x3 crafting grid in the Create mod. We're providing power to this with a windmill, where you put down a windmill bearing next to a rotational chassis, and it generates more power the more wool blocks you attach to the big rotating thing. And we need this to build a crushing wheel. Now that we have soul sand, I've replaced our mineshaft ladders with bubble streams. 2 water drops down to the different levels, and a bubble elevator back up. I also started upgrading the finish of our mineshaft, but as you can see, I ran out of limestone. So we used the create mod to, well, create some more. Anyway, the machine. As you can see, we have a much larger wind turbine than before to provide more power. We also have a series of gears to achieve higher speed at the expense of lower torque to make the machines run faster. Here's the crushing wheels we just made. Blocks drop between them get crushed. Cobblestone turns to gravel, for instance. We have brass funnels above and below to feed into it and out of it. Then there's the mechanical drill next to a bog standard cobblestone generator, and we have mechanism pipes to do some smart routing from outputs to inputs again. This allows us to cycle the same block through the system, turning cobblestone to gravel, gravel to sand, sand to lime sand, etc. We also have an encased fan here, this time blowing air instead of generating power. This can push and pull items and blocks, but if we force the air through lava, we can smelt dropped blocks with it. It can do all of the recipes for vanilla blast furnace, and anything else gets destroyed. I'm currently making cleanstone from cobble, but earlier it turned lime sand into limestone, which solved our shortage problem. Now, as well as forcing the air through lava, you can do the same thing through water in order to clean the items, which is a whole other set of recipes that are probably going to come very useful sometime in the future. But that is quite enough messing around. The goal today was to build our tree farm, and build it we shall. I built this personal chest from the mechanism mod, which appears to work like a vanilla
Shulker box,
chest, except it's double the size. You can access it from within your inventory. Just for now, I filled it with various useful materials that I'd prefer not to be caught without. And yeah, I did change that whole thing up again, but how it exactly works isn't important for now. I have big plans that you'll find out about in the future. So this is the room that we dug. Interestingly, it's apparently just far enough out of range that I can access it, but it like moves away when it opens. Cool. So we've got plenty of space underneath here, way too much space actually to build any of the processing that we need, and we're going to have 3 lines of trees where the dirt is. Now this is an 18 by 18 space, a full chunk with an extra block on every side. So this in a bit is 16 by 16. These are in by 2 blocks, so that's 14 lines of dirt on each side, which means in this entire chunk we can fit 14 times 3 total trees growing at once. And well, I'll let you figure out the ultimate answer to that one. I guess we'll just build with cobblestone for now for scaffolding. So we work out how to get down there and actually design the thing. Cool. So the idea is that, as you could see with the windmill, the create mod allows you to build structures, multi-block structures that turn into big moving mechanism vehicle things. So you can attach them to things like the wind turbine rotor that we used before. You can put them on a special type of minecart. You can attach them to a winch, and you can also use a mechanical piston, which will push these things out a large number of blocks. So I believe, yeah, this is, I think that's facing the wrong direction. Wrench from the right mod. I don't think I do. Will a crescent hammer? It will. Thank you, thermal. Cool, so I think that's supposed to be there and facing this direction. We're going to have a U-shaped mechanism that includes both a saw for chopping down the trees and a deployer for replacing the trees. And then we're going to attach these together with a frame made of chassis. These guys, linear chassis. And then we're going to need a slime ball in order to slime up the edges. Cool, and we can apply slime to that side and that makes it sticky. No, we need that facing up. Fantastic. This reaches up here and that's going to be right by the trees, so we put a mechanical saw down. Crescent hammer doesn't work on that fella. Cool, and then as this thing moves across, it cuts through all of the trees. And then if we go in the other direction, lovely, and we've got an up-down one here. What that connects to we'll get into in good time. Dug out. Whoa, what the hell is going on here? Hang on, let me sort this out. Well, that was weird. My computer just decided to mutiny on me. Anyway, let's keep building this thing. So the deployer needs to be this far away. And then it's got a little filter on it, so we can say all you're going to do is deal with saplings. Fantastic. And then we just need the auxiliary things. Control and storage. And power, I guess. Power is important. And then what we're going to need here is, for the control purposes, we're going to use a redstone block. So that when it reaches the other side, it'll power the redstone and we know to bring it back. Dig into the wall a bit here so we've got a bit more space. Whereas on this side we're going to stick an adjustable crate, which is a little 8 slot storage solution that works for these portable structures. Fantastic. And then the last thing at the bottom is, how do we get our stuff in and out of here? And for that, we're going to use a portable storage interface. These fellas, which we can stick on the underside of, and that goes down here, and then it connects with another one that we stick below it. Those two reach out, grab onto each other and transfer the items down. I think we can move this a block up. Not sure on that about that. We'll test it out. Sweet, and that's how we get items out of here. And now how do we make the piston extend so that it can go all the way to the far side? Well, we need to add on some piston extenders. Here's where the piston lives. Piston extension poles, 1, 15. So in terms of actually powering this thing, we're going to use our good old friend, the encased fan on top of a magma block. This is extremely underpowered and extremely slow. Fantastic. So this fella is going to sit there and it's going to provide us with power, like so. Then we have a gear shift, which sits on top of that, that's currently being powered by the lever. We can't have that. Cool. and then we have a gear shift here that's going to enable us to toggle the direction that this piston is pointing in, that this shaft is rotating in, sorry. Fantastic. And then so push that guy, that fella should move. And he does move. Very slowly, and takes the entire structure with him. Fantastic. Now, of course, this thing moves incredibly slowly because our power source is incredibly underpowered, but that really doesn't matter since, well, what we're waiting on is trees growing, and that happens very slowly in and of itself. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Ow. Okay, don't step into the saw. Who could possibly have predicted that? And that's the basic design. Now, the only remaining question is, this gets to the far end, and we want it to turn around when it does so. And as it gets to the end, you saw that sudden jump. That's it turning back into blocks again, rather than being a large entity structure. So whilst it's moving, you can't interact with any of the chests, and they don't interact as blocks with any of the blocks around them. After that's done, however, they do, including this block of redstone. So we can use this as a signal for when it reaches the far end, because it takes a variable amount of time to reach the far end, because it can take a little bit of time to, well, every time it stops to hit a tree. Now we've got these fabulous little pulse repeaters, which work like regular repeaters, except they've also got a little monostable circuit in them, so every time you power it on, it turns a rising edge into a pulse. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side, and then we've also got a powered toggle latch, which is essentially a T flip-flop. Every time it gets a pulse, it changes its output state, or when you hit the lever on top. So I've got spare redstone, don't I? The mod that allows me to place around corners apparently doesn't like the personal chest. Cool. Redstone dust, and you can see when we give that guy a pulse, the output turns on. Give it another pulse, it turns off. So we'll just have it give out a pulse every time it gets to the far end. Use this to power that fella, and he starts moving back in this direction. I think that should do it. Oh, hello. That's interesting. It's it's decided it wants to take a chunk of the wall with it. I wasn't expecting that. Okay, slight problem. This gets in the way of the redstone. We're going to need a repeater, which I don't have on me. Are we? No, we're not. Fantastic. And he powers there. Alright. Well, that's a bit unfortunate, but a chunk out of the wall isn't the end of the world. Cool. Let's make sure this goes to the far side and then immediately comes back. And if it does that, then we'll know that we're in business. Fantastic. All right. And really we should have a pulse repeater here as well. But who's counting? All right, now let's make sure that this actually works on actual trees, shall we? The reason it paused at the end there, by the way, we didn't get to see it, was these things connecting with each other. So I'm going to clean up the cobblestone and wait for these trees to grow and then get some bone meal if that doesn't happen fast enough. Alright, we've got this brass funnel and a chest beneath it next to this static portable storage interface. We have a couple of trees grown. It's time for a proper test. So I haven't loaded up the deployer with any saplings yet. So let's take a few out. The hope here is that this guy chops down the trees. It'll automatically collect all of the droppings into the little crate that we have down there, except the saplings, which should filter right into the deployer over here. It'll go all the way across, chopping down trees and placing down saplings where possible, come all the way back, and then drop everything that's picked up into the portable storage interface and the static chest that we just put down. So let's see if we can actually watch this one working. Let's see, they connect to each other and transfer items across. There are no items currently. If we go back up, when it gets to a tree, it starts chopping it down, and when this tree has no connection left to the ground, it should destroy the entire thing all at once. Fantastic. We can't actually interact with the adjustable crate at the moment, as I said, because it's moving. But it should be in there. This particular design can't pick up trees on the block and deploy on the same block for whatever reason. So it'll place them back down again on its return journey. There we go. And as it returns home, we should get to see this interface in action. Connect. Push the items across very quickly. And that's fantastic. So that's our tree farm. We still need to do the processing step of actually turning it into charcoal. But now that you've seen it done once, I'm going to replicate that 2 more times over and then decorate the rest of the room to match. And there we have it. 42 saplings growing in 3 lines of 14. Now we've got a tree farm of 3 layers. This top layer, repeated 3 times. This middle layer, again repeated 3 times. You'll notice that I had to flip this entire system around so that the mechanisms are on this side, and that's just because if it was on the other side, these long pylons would have extended right into my mineshaft over there. Whoops. But everything here is the same as it was. And on the lowest level, we have a system that takes the outputs of the 3 systems, puts it in barrels, takes out the barrels, puts it in pipes, puts it in these 3 bins, sticks and saplings and logs here. Logs get stuck on the depot. It gets blasted with this to make it into charcoal, transferred to this basin where it gets stamped into charcoal blocks, and charcoal blocks are the output. So this system down here, it needs a bit of cleaning up. This room and even the one above it aren't very nice yet, but it does the trick, and this is going to give us a nice sustainable source of fuel for the future, which is fantastic. Now, we are also not quite done at the top layer, which you could see I made out of limestone bricks and black terracotta. But we are 4 glowstone short of finishing the ceiling, and we're gonna need to make an expedition to the nether for next episode regardless, because we need to finally track down some blaze rods for ender chests.